Hello everyone. Today I am very happy to meet you again in a small video about sewing and life hacks. In front of me is a needle and thread box, a familiar item in every family. In this small box, there are all kinds of needles and threads. I will take out the needle and thread to try to thread it for you to see. It sounds simple, but surely anyone who has tried to thread a needle has experienced the feeling of stress, right? Sometimes I just want to sew a small line quickly, but I fumble for dozens of minutes, threading the thread forever, but it won't go through the needle's eye. Especially when my eyes are a bit tired, the light is not enough, or my hands are shaking a bit, I am almost helpless. So today, I decided to share with everyone 3 extremely simple tips for threading a needle, making use of available items in the house. No need for professional tools, nor do I need to spend money to buy anything else. With these methods, threading will become much quicker, neater, and more enjoyable. Tip number 1. Thread a needle with fishing line and a bottle cap. First, I prepared a small roll of fishing line, then cut a piece about 10 centimeters long. Next, I took a plastic bottle and removed the cap. Next, I prepared a roll of tape. Now, I folded the fishing line in half so that the 2 ends were equal, then twisted the body tightly. This twisting will prevent the tail from coming loose, and at the same time, create a fixed handle. Then, I placed the fishing line on top of a plastic bottle cap. The bottle cap will act as a sturdy support, so that I can work comfortably without fear of the line slipping. Next, I took some tape and stuck the line tightly to the cap. Once fixed, I used scissors to cut off the excess at the bottom to make it neater. At this point, the folded end of the fishing line has formed a small oval, the secret to making the threading process quick. Now it's time to try it out. I hold the bottle cap in my left hand and the needle in my right hand. Slowly insert the needle through the oval ring at the end of the fishing line. Next, I take a piece of thread and insert it into the gap of the loop. Once the thread is in the ring, I just gently pull the needle forward. And you see, the thread immediately goes neatly into the needle's eye, quickly and extremely neatly. With this method, we no longer have to strain our eyes to stare at the tiny hole of the needle, nor worry about shaking our hands and causing the thread to slip. Just a few simple steps, and we have an extremely effective assistant for threading the needle. Tip 2. Thread a needle using nail clippers and copper core from the charging cable. First, I take a nail clipper. You will notice that at the end of the nail clipper, there is usually a small round hole. Normally, we rarely pay attention to it, but today it will become the place for me to fix the copper wire. Next, I take a piece of old charging wire, cut off both ends, keeping only the wire in the middle. When peeling off the outer layer of this charging wire, it will reveal a few small wires inside, each with its own plastic coating. I use nail clippers to cut and take out the plastic wire inside. At this time, there are 2 plastic wires inside, and I will take one wire to continue peeling and take out the copper wire inside. This is the main material to make the needle threader. Now, I fold the copper wire in half, twist the tail tightly so that it does not come loose. Then, I put this tail into the small round hole at the end of the nail clipper. Thanks to that, the copper ring will be firmly fixed to the nail clipper, both convenient to hold and neat. Finally, I use tweezers or my hands to adjust the end of the copper wire to make it easier to thread the needle. And now it's time to test. I hold the needle in my left hand and the nail clipper with the copper ring attached in my right hand. I put the needle through the copper wire. Then, take the thread and thread it through the hole of the copper ring. Once the thread is in, I gently pull the needle forward, and that's it. The thread is neatly in the needle's hole in a snap. What I like about this tip is that the nail clipper is both sturdy and compact, and is available in most households. Add a little copper wire from an old charger and you have a fancy needle threader that can be used many times. Tip 3. Thread a needle with copper wire and cable sheath. The last tip also uses the same old charging cable from tip number 2, but this time, instead of using nail clippers, we will combine the copper wire with the hollow plastic sheath of the cable to create a very sturdy needle threader. After removing the copper core from the cable, there is a hollow plastic wire left on the outside. This is the part that I will use. I take another small copper wire, fold it in half, and bend the top part into an oval shape. Then I insert it into the hole of the cable. To keep the copper wire secure, I leave the top part to thread the needle, and I fix the bottom part of the copper wire to the plastic wire. Thus, with just a hollow plastic wire and a copper wire folded in half, I have a pretty sturdy, easy-to-grip needle threader. Now let's try it. I hold the needle in my left hand and hold the cable with the copper wire attached in my right hand. Slowly insert the needle through the oval ring at the end of the copper wire. Then, I take a piece of thread and thread it through the gap in the wire loop. Once everything is in place, just gently pull the needle out. The thread will go straight into the needle hole quickly and accurately. The good thing about this tip is that the plastic cable tube handle is quite large and sturdy, very suitable for those with shaky hands or poor eyesight. Instead of having to try to pin it into a thin wire loop, we have a sturdy tool that feels very comfortable in the hand, making the operation more comfortable and less error-prone. So I have shared with everyone 3 extremely fast and simple tips for threading a needle from familiar household items. Hopefully, these tips will help you save time and make sewing easier. If you find them useful, don't forget to leave a comment, like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thank you everyone for watching. See you in the next video.